All right, y'all. Show on the road.
Spots.
I will launch into it. Okay. What up, what up, what up, everybody? Welcome back to Best Concordia. I'm Johnny B, and I'm here in the ethnography lab once again with the fabulous Anne-Marie Turcotte and Chris Millet, producers of our little podcast. Hey, guys.
Hi.
And that gorgeous intro was by our featured band this week, Bats in the Belfry, an all-female string trio from Montreal who have graciously provided music for this week. And they are also very connected to our Concordia community, so we are super hyped to have them. And this is episode 5, which we are calling The Space in Between. And this week, we are talking about transformation, what is sometimes called liminality. And if you don't know what that is, like I didn't before this week, it's basically the space between the start and the end of a ritual when the person going through the ritual is in the process of being transformed. And I realize that this is actually one of the big themes of this podcast. I mean, we're always trying to find stories about the space between our personal identities and our identities as grad students and our identities as developing researchers. And today we are talking to 3 master's students in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology who are themselves inhabiting these spaces, one at the beginning of their studies, one in the middle, and one at the end. And we talked about many, many things, so many things, fabulous things, the spaces that connect policy or bureaucracy in people's lives, the in-between space that we create shared knowledge in, transition spaces between national identities, and the spaces in which we try to discover new ways of living collectively and sustainably.
You know you are a temptress. I chase the tails of your dirty white dress. My body aches for the moment where we find ourselves alone in this mess. You come down like a rainstorm. I never felt one like this before. You woke me up in the middle of the night on your back on my bedroom floor.
First up, I spoke with anthropology master's student Tristan Biehn, and we chatted about creating new spaces as a collectivity and the space between researchers and research participants. Now, Tristan's work centers around a co-op farm here in Montreal and the transformation of the land they grow on and how they are reimagining sustainable communities.
Keep my hands off you. I wanna let your voices out. You come down like a rainstorm. I never see.
Now, just describe for me what a co-op farm is, because I'm not totally sure I know what that is.
Oh yeah, sure. So I mean, there's
It's like they have land and there's a co-op. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, they have 66 acres of land, I think.
Okay.
But
Wow.
they're not working with all of it yet. They don't have the labor or the money to really do that. So
Okay.
they've started working. They started on 8 acres. Because this was all really tired, nutrient-depleted GMO land that they were using. And so they had to first make it so that they could actually grow things there.
Right.
So they spent 3 years just making it so that the soil was viable again. And so there's a lot of soil rehabilitation that had to happen first.
Okay.
And it's pretty recent that they were able to grow enough things to even consider making a co-op. And the co-op, for them, is a business framework in which they have 3 different types of members who can all make decisions about the policy that the business will have.
Okay.
Anything that will affect them as members, they will help decide those things.
And do they all live on the land also?
That's the goal.
Okay. So it's a business, but it's also
it's
our home, and
yeah.
we all live here. And
so they don't yet.
okay. What would be like one of those exciting things that you're like, oh, this is really awesome that you guys are doing this?
So I guess one of the things that I really like the most is just like seeing the land go from totally dead
Yeah.
to full of life and plants and things that you can eat and like heirloom seeds that are being used, and seed. What are they called when when you get together and you have like a seed exchange?
Oh, like a seed? Yeah, isn't it just a seed exchange?
Seed
like
swapping.
I feel seed swap, maybe. I don't know. That sounds a little dirty.
It does, doesn't it?
But I feel like that's a thing, because my sister gardens, and her friends, like, they all have these like binders with seeds in them, and then they go and they're like, well, I'll give you like 5 carrots for 3 tomatoes or whatever the hell it is, right?
So this sort of like
we'll call it a seed swap, because I kind of like that.
No, we can't call it a seed swap.
Okay, fine. A seed exchange.
We'll stick to that. I don't really know what it's technically called. I'm kind of blanking on that right now.
But that is the idea.
Yeah, the idea of like a non-commercial exchange of seeds that have never been messed around with by like some giant corporation.
Right.
This sort of thing, and also planting different types of corn, for example. So I think this past year there was like 7 or 8 different varieties of corn growing on the land, which is,
cool.
it's the sort of biodiversity that's being like constantly lost. So that's one thing that I really liked seeing, this attempt to try to maintain some of that. And I got some like cool squash and some other things that I wouldn't have ever been able to buy at any store or even at the market. And then I took the seeds and kept them for this year, and hopefully they'll grow.
Do you have your own garden at your place?
No, I'm going to go back to the land and plant them there.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I live on a 3rd floor walk up. I'm not planting squash.
Yeah, no, not so much. I also asked Tristan a bit about this ritual of ethnography that she's undertaking, and how one of the bonuses of undertaking a long-term ethnography project like this is witnessing how the work changes our relationships to each other and the work. What kind of time are you devoting to this?
I do like once a week, all day.
Okay.
That's the sort of...
That's the commitment that you're...
Yeah, that's what I try to do.
Have there been times where it's been more, or where you've gone periods without, or?
Yeah, well, as far as like doing more, I've definitely had weeks where I went more than once a week.
Right.
Yeah, especially if there's something going on, like something needs to get built, or something needs to be dismantled and taken somewhere else. Sometimes that'll take a couple days, and you'll have the whole group together to do it. So I try to help out with those sorts of things.
Right.
And then, of course, sometimes I'm just really hungover Saturday morning, and I can't go.
Yeah.
That absolutely happens.
Legit. Yeah.
Or it's the weekend is when people really get together, because most of them have jobs that they have to do all week.
Yeah.
Part of the difficulty getting this off the ground is the time that you need to devote. So being able to pay people to be there every day of the week was something that was really important.
Right.
Which is something that the co-op is taking care of, or trying to take care of.
Right.
So
it just depends. So would it be fair to say then that, like, there's not any, your involvement or the time that you spend has just happened organically, if you will. But that was terrible. I'm sorry. I love a good pun.
For shame.
But you know what I mean? Like that. Like there was no sort of like these are the rules around doing an ethnography or doing your field work, that you have to spend X amount of time, but that you were just like, this is how much time has sort of come up, and it's based on their needs and my needs, and that's kind of how you've.
Yeah, I think that's always a negotiation. Yeah. And it's different for people who travel and live somewhere, and then they have to figure out, when am I going to be doing field work and when am I going to live my personal life?
Yeah.
Whereas I get on a bus and I go to the place, and it's really but then I do talk to them online and meet up with them at cafes and stuff like that sometimes. Right. So it's not like it's super strict of a cutoff, but for me, it's actually pretty easy to just be like, okay, I'm devoting like a day a week to this, to like the actual field work. Yeah. And I just kind of ballpark it like that. Yeah. I try to get there once a week.
And then see how it goes.
Seriously, like I have way too much data, and I'm going back for another summer, and I'm going to get more data, and I really...
So this was second summer 2?
So what happened with this project was when I was an undergrad, I got some funding from the university to do undergraduate research.
Okay.
And I did it with them, but I was doing kind of a pilot project to just see what was going on there with them, and I wasn't planning on going back.
Okay. This was through Concordia.
This is through Concordia.
So just so people know, what was the funding that you got?
Yeah, it was the Concordia undergraduate student research
grant or something like that.
They
had a similar thing at my university for my undergrad too. And
research award, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so that, I mean, it's so fantastic that exists.
Yeah.
And I remember joking that they were just trying to get you hooked.
Right.
Just bring you back.
Yes.
Like a little taste.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Which totally worked, because here I am doing a master's. So way to go, Concordia. You did it.
Yep.
You tricked me into it, you bastards.
So how many years has this been now?
So this will be the third. This will be
Wow.
the third now.
Cool.
Yeah. So I've been able to see them really change a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which has been awesome, because a lot of people don't get to do that with their masters, because you do have a limited time frame. So this is kind of just like a sweet bonus to doing work near home.
Yeah.
And the fact that I did my undergrad and my master's at the same place, I know that people are like, you should go somewhere different. Whatever.
But it's given you this awesome opportunity to be with this group for such a long period of time.
Yep.
That's super cool. And then have you thought about, like, what sort of is going to what's going to happen when this project is done?
I have thought about it.
Yeah.
Well, because this last summer, I was going to be done.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't planning on coming back for another summer. That's a decision that I made later, and then I kind of sent them a message on Facebook, and I was like, I'm coming back. So I had already thought about it. Like, I just figured I would drop by every once in a while to hang out.
Right. Because you're friends with them now, right? Like, these are your...
Yeah, they're buds now. It's part of the difficulty of doing ethnography.
Right, it's that entanglement.
Yeah. And I really want their project to succeed, and I really want to see them make this community. And I'm totally wrapped up in like how's it going, and how's the co-op, and are you guys making money now, and
right.
Yeah, like how are the chickens? Like this sort of I just.
Yeah, you're invested.
Yeah, I am invested now. So I'm gonna definitely have to go back and chill with them.
Well, we'll have
as long as they don't hate the thing I write about them.
Right. Well, I guess we shall see. Well, we'll have you back for sure to talk more about that, because I'd be super curious to see what the sort of the aftermath of doing something, especially one where you've spent so much time with the people that you're observing or that you're hanging out with or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so this is a good spot for me to ask you, because you had difficulty with this other group trying to explain ethnography to them. And it's one of the things that I'm sort of grappling with here with the podcast, is this, because I'm doing my master's in sociology. I'm not an anthropologist, so I haven't spent a ton of time in, ethnography. It's like this word that gets thrown around all the time, and now we're talking about, people doing all this interdisciplinary work here in the lab. So I don't want to ask you, what is ethnography, Tristan?
But you're doing it, though.
I kind of want to ask you what ethnography is. And maybe just in the context of this project that you're working on. So it's, you're going, you're hanging out with them, you're writing, you're keeping detailed notes about their processes, but it's not just the process of consensus building. It's my sense is that ethnographies are sort of they're more detailed than just that one slice of the pie. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's I'm sort of, as an ethnographer, painting a picture of the field that I'm looking at, the entire community, rather than just I'm there to look at their consensus building processes. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. think so. One of the reasons why it's gotten really tricky to define ethnography is because it has shifted a lot.
Right.
Because it definitely used to be a project of going to some sort of tribe of people in the jungle, literally, and making an entire picture of what those people's lives is all about, what their culture is. And it is a form of conceit to think that you can do that. Yeah. And of course that has been recognized. Yeah. And so we don't try to build a 100% full and accurate picture for outsiders of what someone's culture is. That's ludicrous. Yeah. And so for me, it can be a fairly small slice. Okay. What I'm doing with them, because I went with a really small group of people, so I can build a more full picture of what they're doing. It's those sorts of choices that determine what your ethnography is going to be. Right. And so if I had done my original project, it would have been very focused. This is the bureaucracy operating in this one office. Right. And that would have been extremely different. It wouldn't look anything like what I'm doing now, and it probably wouldn't involve half as much hanging out because bureaucrats don't really do that in the same way. And so for me, it is classic in a way because I'm going and working with people, making food with them, hanging out with them, having fun with them in a way that's like, kind of the classic ethnographic project. Right. But at the same time, I'm not like, okay, this is the culture of these people. I'm more talking about the sorts of decisions that get made, how and why, the effects that those have, broader implications of that for utopian movements in general and for sustainability projects. And the sorts of difficulties that they run into, and things like that. Just kind of, doing a lot of documentation, but then with a lot of theoretical analysis.
So that was The Forest by Bats in the Belfry. Next up, I had another anthropology master's student, Heather T.R. Wallman, who talked to me about her undergraduate research thesis about hell houses, which I hadn't heard of before, which are super interesting, and the transformative liminal spaces of morality plays.
I grew up in Alberta.
Okay. Where in
And then
Alberta?
I moved, southern Alberta, south of Calgary, between Medicine Hat and Calgary. Do you know Alberta at all?
A little
Or am I
bit.
just like,
A little bit.
It's a small town
You
called
can try.
Brooks.
Brooks, okay.
Yes.
I was like, my friend is from Dutchess, Alberta.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, and I was really hoping you would say Dutchess because I just love that there's a town called Dutchess.
12 minutes from Brooks.
Really?
I went to school with many Dutchess.
Oh my God. Do you?
students.
Okay, here's a total long shot, stupid question. But do you know Cole Alvis?
I know that last name.
Yeah.
But Dutchess seem to have like a lot of families who have the same last name.
Oh, okay.
So
oh,
I
yeah.
don't know. I could ask my sister. I'll let
Right.
her know after.
Is there like a particular religious community that lives? Because like I feel like that happens a lot in Manitoba too, with like Mennonite communities and Mennonite
Yep.
families and stuff like that. Yeah.
Similar.
Okay.
Maybe not Mennonite, but definitely like Christian Reform.
Okay.
And then like one little town over, it's Mormonism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So that was like a total tangent, but so
No,
okay.
it's okay.
Brooks,
I'm like, cool,
Alberta,
Dutchess.
and then I know, right? Small world. Shout out to
Very
Cole.
small
Hi,
world.
Cole.
Yeah. Shout out to Brooks.
Shout out to Brooks. Yes. And did you do with your anthropology major? Were you able to do research at the undergraduate level?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
did
that-
2 projects. I did a project on homelessness. And I also did my own undergraduate thesis on, I guess, what you'd call the anthropology of religion. So I studied hell houses.
Sorry, come
They're
again.
called hell houses.
Hell houses.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's a Pentecostal...
Like I think I lived there in my 20s. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I think that's a whole different research project, but it's a ritual that actually I was involved in one in my past experiences as a Christian in Lethbridge, Alberta.
Yes.
And they're houses put together around Halloween that Christians will stage certain like moral scenarios and performances of what not to do
Right.
and what makes you a good Christian. And it's very fear-driven.
So like what kinds of scenarios?
Oh, like being gay.
What would the okay?
No,
you need
it's
to, like-
interesting.
you
I
need to,
will
like,
send
set
you a
the
link
scene
to
for
like
me.
one of the documentaries that I used in my content analysis.
Okay.
There's also like shootings. So they have this dramatic scenario around like a school shooting. Someone coming to school, and suddenly they just want to shoot everybody. And I mean, they're very general. Like
Okay.
they don't have much contextualization.
Yeah.
They're really just playing to the morals of the Pentecostal sect,
Right.
which is like what you don't do. And so, in addition to that, there was one about ecstasy. And in this documentary that I used in my content analysis, it was just awful to analyze because this young girl goes out and she apparently uses ecstasy and she gets raped. And
my
yeah,
God.
and it's really, I mean, there's a lot of fear in these hell
Right.
houses. And that's how they recruit, especially young kids. Like the demographic are young youth.
Wow.
And so this woman comes back, and the moral of this was like you shouldn't have used ecstasy. It had nothing to do with like consent, nothing to do around like the
Right.
woman's body. Yeah, so that's what I did my undergrad
Take home,
thesis
drugs are
on.
bad.
Yes, pretty much, not
Rape culture
or
is
consent.
fucked up.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, sorry, I just like
No,
heavy.
that's okay.
That was heavy. Sorry, audience.
That's all good. It's super interesting, but so do they? And I'm going to actually stay on it because I want to know more about
That's
this.
fine.
So sorry about it. But do they do reenactments?
Oh yeah,
It's
that's
like
what it
actors
is.
reenacting things.
Yes, we at that time,
Yes.
because I was a part of this Pentecostal church.
Right.
We would perform these specific scenarios. And they're different stages. So what you do is, so the audience will go in. So it's basically like a haunted house. You know how
Yeah.
you walk around, you go to different stages. So they would bring groups of kids in, and they would take them to each stage. So they read each scenario. Probably about 5 or 6, depending on the church and how many they decide to do.
Okay.
So you go through each, and at the end, there's like a big scene of hell and what hell looks like and what's going on.
With all the people, like, do you all
Yes.
get together at the end and it's like big
So-
group number in hell?
Pretty much. And so that's where they really drive the fear into you.
Yeah.
So then after that, they take you to this room where they like to manipulate those fears. Unfortunately, yes.
How do
and
they
so
do that?
there'll be, for me, there is a very zealous youth pastor telling you about what you can do to not go to this hell that was just presented in front of
Wow.
you. And almost everybody decides to become a Christian at that time.
Yeah.
So it's I looked at it as like I took Victor Turner's idea of like liminality and liminoids.
Wait.
Idea of like the space between.
Like,
so you go
explain.
through. Okay, that's okay.
I'm a little slow, so.
So basically, what Victor Turner is saying is you go through like these spaces in between that puts you into a different, say, like identity.
Okay.
Let's say that.
Yeah.
Maybe someone will contest what I just paraphrased, but that's how I saw Victor Turner's theory. And so I was saying that once you go through this house, you come out the end, say, a Christian.
Ah.
That's kind of what he's meaning. Is like you're going through that space between turning into a certain place in society, let's say.
Okay.
I'm going to be very general in this.
Yeah. Huh.
So.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, it was interesting.
And then, okay, so I just have to know, like, how I'm picturing this is, like, the gay scene is, like, it's not like a drag show. It's not like...
No, it's not. It's definitely
it's
not.
Like horrible.
It was very stereotypical.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. And for some reason, it's always, like... You know, I'm a queer woman. And so it's interesting that there was never anything with, like, women.
Right.
Non-binary. It was always like the things that I said was always men because of like the masculinity that comes with Christianity.
Yes.
And that's more sinful than say women.
Right.
So it was very stereotypical.
Heather also told me about her thesis work that began with a job she had at a transition house for women in Vancouver and a space where people are literally being transitioned by neoliberal policy into neoliberal citizens, but are also able to find ways to resist those narratives. Tell me what you're working on.
Oh, yeah, okay, there's the big question. Okay, so one of the common laments that I found throughout my job, like between my coworkers, was that we kept seeing women and children who are fleeing abuse return to abusive situations because I don't know if you're well apprised of like the conditions of the BC housing market, but it's awful.
Right. Yes.
It's deplorable.
Yeah, I know.
There's
I have lots of friends
even if
who
you have a
moved
good
away.
paying job, it's really hard to find decent housing.
Yeah.
Especially on Vancouver Island and Vancouver.
Yeah.
And so we kept seeing this recidivism rate, people going back because they have nowhere to go. It was like they want to move forward.
Yeah.
But they haven't. Like there's like little welfare funding for like say second stage housing.
Yeah.
In addition to that, they can't afford rent because a lot of people are leaving houses where they didn't have an income. Like their partner had
the income,
the basic income,
right?
Primary income, and so they were left on assistance, which does not provide enough money.
Yeah.
For the housing market.
Right, in Vancouver and
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started playing with some ideas about what's going on and looking into research, and there's a lot of psychological research around it. A lot of emphasis that is put on the woman and like cycles of abuse. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, that's great, but like we keep running into the same problem, which is something that is being built by like our neoliberal economy.
Yes.
So I started looking into that. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do here? So then I looked into some researchers in Canada where I feel like I could do the research, and Concordia I felt would give me that space to do so,
right.
Especially the research that's being done by Max Forte. And so...
and is Max Forte, that's your supervisor?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, Max, my supervisor. So I proposed to look into this issue further in my research.
Yeah.
I'm now developing other theories to look at it. Like, I'm not going to jettison neoliberalism at all. That's like the center of it.
Yes.
But after going through like my coursework, especially Craig Hetherington's class, I'm starting to redevelop how certain theories can look at the way that these narratives of abuse work in bureaucracy. And so how the neoliberal government, because just to contextualize a little bit, at least I can speak to British Columbia, most feminist organizations that have transition house programs are primarily funded through the government.
Right.
So they set the protocols and policies for the workers in the transition houses. So
the government sets those protocols
does,
and policies.
and your mandates. So who can access these resources? Which I'm thinking about, okay, like they're forming a script for
Right.
who can do this. And
Yes.
transition house workers are now reproducing neoliberal ideologies as well. And how are these ideologies working with or against the neoliberal system is kind of what I'm trying to look at.
Okay.
In addition to that, like how, like to get even more in depth, how these objects that we were using in the transition house, such as like basic like binders to clip portfolios, narratives of clients,
Yeah.
to the use of computers and statistical databases that were required to fill out, how all these objects play a part in that narrative. And so I'm kind of looking into different ways of analyzing certain parts, and neoliberalism will definitely take like the grand theory, but
Right.
I don't want to stretch it too far.
Right.
So that's kind of what I'm working with.
So when you were working in this transition housing, were you finding that transition workers they really were appropriating sort of these neoliberal ideas in terms of like we're running this in sort of like a bureaucratic corporate kind of way in terms of like binders and the office supplies that we use, or was there space within that for the workers to subvert some of those ideas and narratives around the people who are accessing services?
So that's another theory that I'm looking at as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is the resistance
Yes.
that is not really cognizant. They're like, oh,
Right.
because there are many times, like, I don't want to speak, I'll speak to myself, and I'm sorry to my former boss, but
Right.
I'll let her hear the podcast, obviously.
Yeah.
But there are times where you kind of look the other way, because you realize, like, this person really needs this resource.
Sure.
And it's little things. It's such as outreach. Like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And it's nothing that's, like, detrimental or harmful. It just doesn't abide by a protocol.
Right.
And so you're like, oh, okay, they just need some food or they need a blanket. I know I'm not supposed
Yeah.
to do this. It's supposed to be for here or there or other things. I mean, I can speak to the homeless shelter, which has the same database. And, I feel more comfortable speaking to that database than the other one. So there are times where you're supposed to fill out their ethnicity, or there's a completely separate section for Aboriginal. And there are times where I'm just like, no, I refuse to do this.
Yeah.
And what kind of like sparked that in that memory of doing that was the book that I just read by Audra Simpson, Mohawk Interruptus, and she speaks about theory of refusal.
Okay.
And it's not specifically to like this. She speaks about Mohawk refusal.
Right.
But I'm trying to look at her theory and see if it can apply
Cool.
to like these ideas of resistance and also objects and how you resist in those objects, such as like me saying in the homeless shelter, I don't want to fill out this statistical database on the
Right.
computer.
Yeah.
That would be my resistance.
Yes.
But coming back to your question on if I saw that like the workers were all bureaucrats, like the contention that I find in that is like there's a difference between, so there's the neoliberal economy that kind of bases it bases its ideologies similar to like human rights ideology, right? So these agencies are they believe, like my coworkers believe, and so did I, on like human rights, like women's rights.
Right.
Which obviously I'm saying we should not have. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm trying to see how these ideologies match and how the government might actually be putting what they're supposed to be in charge of on these agencies. Because the neoliberal economy cuts the welfare system.
Right.
So I hope I'm being clear that I'm not saying that women and children
Yes.
do not deserve like spaces to
No.
leave abuse whatsoever. I'm just trying to see the relationship between the neoliberal economy and transition houses.
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm working on.
Were you guys kind of feeling that pinch as workers too, of like operating?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're glorified social workers,
Right.
definitely.
And in terms of like resources and like being able to like provide things for people,
Limited.
like limited, yes.
Yeah,
Is
limited.
it provincial funding that's
Yeah.
that's through? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So then, what's your field work going to be? And do you have it all set up? Like,
Yeah, I'm
that's-
going back.
so
I'm going
impressed.
back, and it's interesting because the ethics is like, as much as I want to say it's mine. I mean, this is something that I've grappled with my final paper for one of my classes this semester. Is like, it's mine. My name will be on the thesis. But in the same sense, like, I wanted to get into my master's to try and figure out new solutions. Like,
Yeah.
and it's hard because it's a tenuous ground. I mean, I'm I'm the one, say, conducting it, but really knowledge is a collaboration between people.
Absolutely.
It's not just my knowledge, because I feel like it becomes hegemonic.
Yeah.
If I say this is my knowledge, and I'm going to apply it here in this transition house. So what comes out of this, I'm not sure. I have theories, I have ideas that I want to play with, but really it's going to be up to us, and I say us as in like my coworkers, who I love and I adore dearly, and who I appreciate. And I just want us to try and figure out like what's going on. Why do we keep running into this tension?
Mm-hmm. So it is your coworkers that you're doing.
Yeah, it's my coworkers. I'm excited,
Cool.
and they're excited, and they've been apprised with every step along the way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you're going back for how long?
I will be back there for at least 4 months.
And how long do you think the fieldwork is going to take you? Are you
4 months,
doing,
yeah,
4 months?
yeah. Our program, not mandates, but it outlines 3 to 4 months for fieldwork.
Okay, and you'll be working will you be back working as part of the organization, or will you just sort of be there?
Yes, so my manager recruited me back after much convincing, just to be casual.
Yeah.
So if they need someone here and there, and so I said, yeah, that's sure, that's fine.
Yeah. And they know that you're coming back also in a research capacity too.
Yes, that has been candid since like last semester, and I've had their approval. And the way that the transition house works is they're very egalitarian. So for me to come back, they needed the approval of the staff. For me to come back as a researcher and me as a casual worker.
Okay.
Briefly, yeah.
Huh.
So
Interesting.
they're very supportive, and I look forward to working with them again and trying to figure out what's going on.
Controlling my brain, there's a hole in my heart. There's nothing to gain as I'm falling apart. As I clench my whole body, hands to my head, sometimes I believe I'd be better off dead. Born to wander, ain't nothing but a stranger. This day. it that every time you blink, you're hounded by demons of black despair. Demons of black despair.
That was Demons of Black Despair by the incredible Bats in the Belfry, who I didn't know about, but our fabulous producer, Chris Millett, brought to my attention. But Chris, how did you find out about these women?
Well, yeah, like you said at the beginning of the show, they seem pretty connected with the Concordia music scene and general, I guess I would say, activist community.
Okay, cool.
And so they played, I caught them by accident at the Hive one time. And as we know, the Hive is the co-op, our favorite coffee shop.
The Hive is the hub. Yes, our favorite sustainable co-op on campus. We love them.
And so they were playing a show there, and it was after one of our professional development classes last year, and they were there was no amplification, there was no board or mics. It was totally acoustic, and I think I got in trouble a couple times for talking. Generally tends to happen, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so
Somebody
rude.
shut that guy up!
So rude and awful, and I don't know what's going on." But they were really great, and they really captured my attention. So they're, like you said, they're a 3-piece string band. They've got Alex Charbonneau plays an acoustic guitar, and then they have Emily and Victoria are playing ukulele and mandolin, and they also have a little kick drum, which they hit, and it's got a tambourine attached, so they get like that.
Oh,
doom,
nice.
doom, doom.
Oh yeah, it's like that White Stripes vibe.
Exactly, and so during the set they did a cover of Amy Winehouse's Back in Black.
Oh, gorgeous.
Back to Black.
Back to Black, yeah.
We'll edit that.
Yeah.
Back in Black.
Yeah, that's the band. That's not the right band. Come on,
It's
Chris.
not the metal episode.
Get your story straight. Yeah, exactly. That was last week.
So they covered Back to Black, and it was like this really interesting, like Motown meets bluegrass thing.
Awesome.
I kind of never heard anything, and then their harmonies were spectacular. So that cover kind of got me to pay more attention, and then I started actually listening to them, and then I saw them again soon after at the Divan Orange.
Okay.
And from there and started listening to their music since then. And,
I'm so glad that you did and that you brought them to our
Yes.
attention because they're incredible and they're really going to make this episode. So
They're
big
doing
shout
really
out to
well,
them.
yeah.
And they're doing super well. And if people want to find out more about them, they can check them out at montrealbats.bandcamp.com/releases. And we will also link to that on our Best Concordia page and our Facebook page. So check them out. Switching gears now to sociology, our last guest, master's student Lucian Ivanov, spoke to me about the physical and bureaucratic spaces that are created through discourse, but we started off talking about bridging the gap from one country to another when you're an international student starting over in Canada and the process of re-specializing within a new field of study. How would you say
It's
it?
Ivanov.
Ivanov.
Yeah, Ivanov, yeah.
I could do the Romanian version.
Thank you.
Ivanov.
Ivanov, yeah.
Lucian Ivanov. Mm-hmm. So welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Hey, Johnny B.
That's right. That's my
That's your,
Do you like that?
your
That's
nickname, your
my cute
podcast
host name.
Yes,
Yeah.
great. Well, my name was Eva in high school.
Eva?
Eva from Ivanov, yeah. Just a shortcut, yeah, Eva.
I should be.
So-
I want to know people's nicknames.
Yes.
Was that the only nickname you had in high school?
Yeah, that was the only nickname, yeah.
Yeah, not like
But-
Big Daddy Lucian or anything
No,
like that.
thanks. No, it's okay. It's okay.
Maybe I'll start that for you. Don't worry.
I am a real daddy right now. Yeah.
Yes.
It's true. It's true.
That's true. You are a grad student
Yeah.
who is also a parent.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah. For me, it was already like a marathon. I had to re-specialize somehow, right? Coming from Romania.
What do you mean you had to
So-
re-specialize?
Well, I had to re-specialize because, my whole studies there, my university there was not fully recognized here. And, so I've done communication in Romania.
Yeah.
So then, of course, we grow. And, I always keen to this. I always was, keen to enacting change, being a justicière. How would you say that? Fighting for what's right? So,
right. Social justice
warrior, exactly. So,
but wait a minute. So you did your communications degree in Romania, and then came here, and they were like, "Nope, sorry, not good enough." So did you have to take more courses, or like finish a bachelor's degree? How did that work?
Well, I went into. I went to equivalent my studies, right?
Okay.
And they said, no, you actually get only collegial degree level with your studies.
Were you pissed?
A bit, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. But then anyway, so I applied to Concordia, and Concordia actually so that was the government, right?
Yeah.
So Concordia was actually more accepting, and they say, okay, so we accept that, and we give you 1 year as well. We're going to equivalent your 4 years in Romania with 1 year of university studies here.
4 years in Romania equals 1 year in
college
Canada.
and 1 year. College and 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because we're just so advanced and sophisticated in Canada. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's more Quebec than Canada. Okay? To be fair.
No shade to Quebec, but
okay, maybe you want to cut that.
Maybe all tea, all shade. I don't know. Well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
you had your 1 year, and then did you have to complete 3 years of the degree here?
No, so I've done my BA in 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Here, and then
straight into the master's.
Straight into the master's, yeah. So.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. It's a 4-year marathon right now, so that's I'm almost finishing.
Well, that's like me too.
And I'm it's a whole reconstruction, right? It's a whole re-specialization, and I'm glad. It was well worth it. So I do feel that I've gained a lot. in these 4 years. Yeah,
that's like you basically. Like you and I both were not like straight out of high school into our degrees and then straight into this. We both made big changes in our lives to come back and do this. So why did you decide to re-specialize and redo all of this stuff?
Well, it's just because. Can I say I wanted more out of life, first of all, right? And I it's every once in a while you go and you reanalyze yourself and where you are and where you want to go. So I thought that this could be a good fit for me, and I still think that, obviously.
Yeah. What were you doing beforehand?
Yeah. Well, before I was being in communication, doing a deck in film here as well. I was doing. Films, independent films, So having contracts. I'm a filmmaker as well, okay. Which I keep alive as well on the side,
Next, Lucian told me about his thesis work, which looks at old secret police files that were kept before the fall of the communist regime in Romania. So, and you're doing this in the context of secret police in Romania.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, so explain to me the context of that secret police in Romania. What you're looking at. Are you on the run from the secret police in Romania? Is that why you're in Canada?
No, I'm not. I have a legal passport. But I am not a refugee.
Okay.
The communist regime fell 27 years ago in Romania. So, but it is a kind of a pioneering work here that a lot of specialist researchers are doing with the archives.
Yeah.
And it's recognized even by a lot of sociologists like Verderi.
So you're looking at archives?
Yeah, we're looking at never seen archives, and
never seen archives?
Yeah.
Because they've just been under, like, in a vault somewhere?
Yeah, they've been under the Securitates archive, and then under the new secret police, whatever organism, whatever it's called, which is, the direction of, security of the Romanian state and whatnot. Okay, so it's like, a CIA type of
so they've been
equivalency, right?
Guarding these documents, these archives.
Yes.
And now, you waltzed in and you were like, unlock those doors. I'm coming for you.
So, so following the the changes and the that happened after the fall of the Iron Curtain.
Yeah.
Each communist state at some point in time started to release documents.
Okay.
For a better understanding of what happened, and as well for illustration purposes. Means is the illustration law that followed, which will say, you've been an informer or you had a secret file, whatever.
Okay.
You are not allowed to hold public office for 5 or 10 years, right? Because this is how it is. It's not normal, okay? Okay. We don't want the ancient Camaril, the ancient,
coming back into power.
Obviously.
Gotcha.
So that's why this illustration law came out, and documents started to be released and whatnot. Mind you, a lot of documents were destroyed with the revolution. Whole buildings on fire, trucks on fire, with documents, right? So, some accidental, some intentional, obviously.
Right.
But we still have 24 kilometers of documents, if you put them together.
What?
And that's in 2,800,000 volumes.
Whoa.
So 2,800,000 volumes. Out of that, 70% it's in paper file.
Yeah.
The rest is in video, audio, and other type of.
Right, because these are old documents. Like nothing was digitized back then.
Yeah.
It's like all paper.
Starting the 70s, something started to be digitized. But
So what time period is this?
I'm looking. Well, communism in Romania was since 1948 to 1989. Yeah. But it's split in two periods. So I'm looking at this, the documents from this period, 1948, 1969, and then there's another period, 69 to 1989.
Okay.
In which as well there was
a pretty big time. That's like a long period of time.
Yeah.
It's like 40 years, 50 years.
Yeah, altogether. Yeah.
Right.
So.
And when did the regime fall?
In 1989.
1989. So you're looking from 1940s. 1948 up until sort of the fall of the regime, is that
to the middle of the regime.
To the middle of the
regime, when actually Ceausescu came in power.
Okay.
And actually he steered the country into a more nationalistic path, breaking ties with Russia and all these kind of things.
Okay.
And the surveillance tactics and everything changed as well. Right? Yeah. So I'm looking at the more brutal surveillance tactics and that were just that were enacted with the coming to power of the Communist Party.
Like what kind of surveillance tactics?
Well, you see, now we're going to go into Foucault, and Verderi and other things.
I'm ready.
So
take
Foucault,
me there.
So Foucault, used this Jeremy Bentham's panopticon, right? To
what's a panopticon?
I will explain what's a panopticon. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what's a panopticon. So I use this Jeremy Bentham's panopticon. It's a medieval type of surveillance practice where there's a semicircle.
Yep.
It's a prison basically, but it's a semicircle prison.
Yep.
Where the prisoners are. Their cells are in this semicircle.
Okay.
And the guardian is in a tower in the middle, watching
over them.
Watching over them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, at any point in time, the guardian can see what's going on in any cell with any prisoner, while they don't actually, they are not actually able to see him. Okay.
Right.
So there's this surveillance that's always there that forces people to discipline themselves, to look at their behavior and,
So the threat of being watched
exactly.
is what's keeping you in line.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
You got that right. Okay.
So then how were they able to do that?
Okay, so then there's a lot. There's a couple of theorists, right, that took this panopticon to another level.
Okay.
Poster is with his super panopticon, along with the computerized era. He's explaining that actually everything became a super panopticon, in which you as a user, for example, you're a Facebook user. All your friends are actually watching you.
Right.
And you're going to self-discipline your postings according to what
based on what I think the audience wants or is.
Exactly.
I gotcha.
So that's
this is not Facebook time that we're talking about.
No.
This is
so it's a spin of Mark Poster, for example. But and then there's Weber with the bureaucratic iron cage that acts as well, surveils functionaries and whatever administrative apparatus. But my spin of this is that the super panopticon existed in the communist regime before the digital era.
Right.
Okay. Because the Securitate wanted to actually colonize all the relationships of the people in order to create nodes of information. Okay. So the agent and the informers that were informing on this person were around him. So they are So they are, instead of the prisoners, you have the agent and the informers, and instead of the guard, you have the person that is surveyed. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, that really acts like a super panopticon because the pressure is on the person that's surveilled, right?
So this person knows that there are all of these like networks of informants around them, and it could probably be, or maybe you don't know, but it could be anyone.
Yes, exactly.
So that's how they are able
came
to keep you.
They came to know in years and through practice that they were surveilled, because in the beginning they didn't know.
Huh.
Yeah.
And who were the people that were being surveilled? Like just like political agitators and these sorts of things, or?
Well, I hate to say, but there were a lot of people surveilled. There were around
like just regular people.
Look, just the historical party members, like let's say the Democratic Party, the Labourers Party, and other, because they were surveilling everybody that you are in contact with. Okay, friends, family, relatives.
Right.
So only these members of the historical parties that were surveilled add up to 1,500,000 people for a population of 16 million.
They were surveilling 1.5 million people.
Yeah.
Holy crap. That's a lot. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy, yeah.
Wow.
And a lot of people didn't know they were surveilled.
Right.
Friends and family and whatnot. They didn't know. So, but this actually
would
was
people's like family members and friends be like part of that surveillance process? Like would you find out like, oh, my grandma was like informing on me to the Securitate?
You can find out, and actually now you can actually, with an appointment and a request, you can consult if you had a file. You can consult with the archives to see if you had a file and what was said about you.
Wow.
But but actually, this illustration role, why is it so kind of difficult to enact and based your assertions as being truth in all of this analysis, is because a lot of people would inform just to stall the authorities, to protect the loved ones.
Right.
So, and they were giving fake information as well.
Right. So what's true, what's not true.
Exactly. But that doesn't change the fact that we had per capita, per population, a higher number of surveillance of informers and agents than the East Germany Stasi's.
Whoa!
Right, so that's something I'm learning about myself as well.
So what part of these archives are you looking at? People's files, like people who were part of this?
Well, no, I'm looking more at the institutional ones, the laws and the policies.
Okay, of the Securitate.
Yeah.
So like their own bureaucracy, how they functioned as an organization.
Exactly. So actually, to state my thesis is actually I'm looking at how the enemy element was created in these files in order to justify surveillance practices and the extension of the Securitate arm, because it was self-generating.
Right. So they have to.
It was really self-generating. They were starting a file on you without you knowing that you were surveilled, and just to justify that you need to be surveilled.
Right.
And then, it was they became judges and executioners, right?
Yeah.
In the sense that, so you were following, or you're not worth following. So you're going to be an enemy of the state, or of the people, or you're not going to be. So
So they
that's very interesting.
created the need for themselves and then derived the power that they wielded out of that justifying that need.
Yeah, exactly.
What? That's crazy.
So that's why I wanted to know to do this research.
Yeah.
You know, I was I was 13 years old when the communist regime fell in Romania. So I really didn't understand very well what happened. It didn't affect me that much.
Right.
Maybe yes, it did affect my family, my mother's side, my grandfather, because he was expropriated. But
what does that mean? He was expropriated.
When they had the collectivization happening, they took people's land. Obviously, I mean, you were supposed to give the land, for collectivization, for the betterment of everybody, for the welfare of the people of the country,
for the communist state or whatever. Yeah.
But again, that didn't affect us in the end that much.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know more what happened, and analyze this.
So it's
from a sociological point of view,
and from a personal
level as well,
understand your own history,
exactly,
where you come from,
and in that, hopefully, I'll provide answers for a lot of other people around me. So.
Yeah. So that's it, everybody. I hope you found this episode transformational. Big thanks to our guests this week, Tristan Biehn, Heather T.R. Wallman, Lucian Ivanov, and our friends Emily, Alex, and Victoria from Bats in the Belfry for letting us use their amazing music this week. Also, we want to plug their upcoming tour and say that if you are in Vancouver on July 18th, they will be playing with Old Soul Rebel at Slickety Jim's Chat and Chew.
Slickety Jim!
Which is such a Vancouver name. It's so hilarious. I love it so much. So that's it for me, Johnny B, and my lovely producers Anne-Marie Turcotte and Chris Millett. Special thanks, as always, to the Ethnography Lab and the Speculative Life Research Cluster for hosting us. See y'all next time. Bye-bye.
Guys, do you feel different?
I do. I feel transformed.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. It was quite the ritual we underwent together. Thank you for going through that with me. Friends to the end.
I wouldn't have wanted to do it with anybody else.
Me neither. What a great crew.